arranging the Hanukkah candles. So there's this idea that the very idea of a menorah, which is the classic thing that they called the candelabrum, in which we put the candles. Nowadays in Hebrew, some people invented a new word called Hanukkah, which is very bizarre. My grandfathers used to call it menorah. I don't see why I have to start calling it a Hanukkah. It sounds too, I don't know, too flippant. Just forget about it. But either way, there are some who have this idea. I wish I had the old copy of the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch they had back in New York, which shows the 4 different ways of doing it. Do you arrange the candles from left to right or from right to left, and then lighting them from left to right or right to left? And because it's 2 times 2, you have 4 different combinations. 4 different minhagim exist. But what is the correct way according to, let's say, the Vilna Gaon? This is opinion. I'll read you what the Shulchan Aruch says. Then the first night he lights the candle that's more. The second night when he's added a candle next to that one. Now he's assuming they're in a line, by the way. He should say the bracha and light first this one that's now on the left candle, and then the right. So start at the left. Kedei lafnot liyamin, so that he's moving to the right. When he adds a new candle next to the first 2 candles, should start his blessing. Then he can continue to the right. By the way, this is Shulchan Aruch's opinion. Okay, like I said, I used to have a Kitzur that shows the 4 different opinions. Everybody has on who to rely. But the Vilna Gaon basically takes this whole thing apart. It says, Vivarich al nosaf, that's what the Marik said. Ve'ein lo tam v'reach, but there's no reason for this. Couldn't find a Talmudic source for this. They're all the same candles. Shezeh einu rak l'mahadrin min mahadrin. This idea that you add a candle every night, and that's mahadrin min mahadrin. V'yaniach ikar mitzvah vivarich al rishus. The ikar mitzvah is lighting 1 candle every single night. So you're putting aside the ikar, lighting a candle, and you're blessing on this. You're reciting the blessing on something that's just a matter of hidur or rishus, something that's at your discretion to do, adding candles. The additional candles is just a hidur. It's that 1 candle that counts. Wow, only going very, very, very forceful over here. Ein tam v'reach. V'ain simin terad, where he says naga v'gam mishum pinot liyamin yivatel ikar mitzvah tevach hasamut lepetach. This idea that a person should always go rightwards, like in the temple. That's a nice concept. It's not required by Chazal. He's basically saying you're going to put aside the ikar mitzvah, which is that you have to put the candle, which is of the doorway. What are you doing? None of this makes sense. What you should do is light the candle that's right next to the door, within the tefach of the door. Doesn't matter if you're on the right side or the left side. To others, this matters. And the Vilna Gaon says, no, it doesn't really matter. And every day say the blessing on that 1 candle. That's the one that's closest to the doorway. So you should always light and recite the blessing upon the candle that's right next to the door, the al ikar mitzvah, which is the ikar mitzvah. And then he throws in another thing, a menorah. The Vilna Gaon knocks it down. He also says, Ayin Magen Avraham b'shem Rashal. And he says you could find a similar argument made in Magen Avraham. But then he says, Aval, what you find in Magen Avraham, this next line, don't hold of. Masha Kotav She'aniach Kishapud Lo Nira. They should line them up as though a spear. Line them up in a line, basically on a menorah. Whoever said your Hanukkah candles, if you have extra ones, have to be in a line. Yes, that's an idea that came up in the Rishonim, that to show that all these candles are different candles, they used to have a lot of different wicks floating in one big bowl of oil. So they said that there's a way to make it look different. You have to separate them somehow, so it doesn't just look like one big torch. If you have a lot of wicks floating in one bowl of oil, it doesn't look like separate candles. It looks like one big blazing bowl. So he says this whole idea of you have to line them up, eino nira, or as I put it here, this whole idea that we're taught as kids that's supposed to do it, we can understand aesthetically raised so it looks different. Now you begin to see the evolution of the classic menorah, which by the way is very nice, and I sort of have one myself. But none of these were ordained by Chazal. So the Vilna Gaon basically takes this whole thing apart. Really, it doesn't really matter which way you light your candles. You should just be lighting the one that matters, the one candle that matters, and that's the one that's placed next to the door. And this whole thing with directions also, yes, you can make arguments that it invokes what was done in the temple, but really, none of them were made by Chazal. And the whole thing, you have to put your Hanukkah candles in line also. That's nicht kaina halacha because there's no Talmudic source for that. But other than that, whatever they said was 100% on the ball according to the Vilna Gaon. So that brings us to the conclusion over here. Sometimes, like the Vilna Gaon says, you have to know what the Ikar is, and you have to know what the Rishos is. And unfortunately, sometimes when we get to Tafel is the Ikar, that the Hanukkah candle, that's not the Ikar. The Ikar is that everybody light their Hanukkah candle in the right place and stand up for what the candle stands up for, which is, the rabbi said recently, it's not about a little light dispelling the darkness and other nice platitudes. It's about the triumph of the Jewish will to want to keep the entire Torah in the face of those who would try to take away the Torah from them.
We would like to encourage our viewers to share these videos with friends and send in your responses. If you would like to obtain Birkon Nusach Eretz Yisrael or invite the rabbi for a speaking engagement, please email us at office@machonshilo.org.